Cold Pursuit is about a man, Liam Neeson, Nels Coxman, taking revenge on the murder of his son and sort of understanding the world that his son was involved in as well. So it's sort of, I suppose it's about grief and dealing with that as well, but in a very dark comedy, action-packed way. It's unlike any other film in that there is a lot of comedy to it. It's very dark comedy. When I first read the script, it sort of reminded me of a Coen Brothers, Tarantino sort of type. You don't quite know whether to laugh or not. It's very sort of down the line like that. My character comes in, I suppose, as a bit of a not complete comic, but he's the sort of antidote to Liam's sort of grief and gravity, and he's hunting me down, and then you sort of come into the world of my character Viking, who is this leader of this sort of drug gang, and you sort of get introduced to that sort of quite crazy, bizarre world. White Ball and my character has inherited this company, this drug dealing company. It's not really a company. It's not like it's got limited. He's inherited this gang of criminals from his father, who had a pact with White Ball, who's played by Tom Jackson, and they had an understanding that they would only deal and operate in certain areas. Because of what Liam does, I mistake that as their gang, so it starts off this sort of big war between these two sort of kingpins. The role, selfishly. I read the part and I thought it was one of the coolest, most sort of bizarre, challenging things. I'd never really played a character like that before. And then the prospect of working with Liam was wonderful. And then the director, when I met Michael Schamberg, the producer, and Hans Petter, the director, when I met them, they were so up for me just playing and having fun and really pushing boundaries with what we were doing. That's what really drew me to it. Yeah. Amazing. I sadly only got a couple of scenes with him, but being in a film that he was leading is a wonderful thing. He's so talented. He's so warm and calm and fun, that I loved every second of it, yeah. I learned some lines. I did quite a lot of rehearsal actually. I don't tend to rehearse too much, but what I wanted to do is do a lot of rehearsal so that on the day I could play. So I sort of exhausted all possible sort of avenues in my mind of where the scene could go, so that come the day I could sort of just play. But a lot of it really was, as I've said, Hans Petter created such an amazing atmosphere on set that we could just kind of go crazy, and we improvised a hell of a lot. We sort of messed around with lines and orders of things so that come the day it was actually very creative. There's not much you can prepare for really. It's more sort of know what you're going to come in and what you want to do and what you want to say, and then kind of throw it away and play on the day. Wonderful, yeah. Like up there. I've never been up a mountain that high. It's so beautiful. And also the sort of selfish when you step out of a car and it's that cold and it hits you. It's sort of quite bracing and wonderful. So yeah, I loved it. It was great, and the crew's fantastic. I think it was a lot of the crew had worked on like the Revenant and stuff, so they were used to being out in the cold and the wind and the rain. Well, actually, I think they'll come in expecting one thing, and they'll come out with another. Because I think it being a Liam Neeson revenge action piece is what it's sort of sold as, but it's so much more. There's this sort of crazy big dark, funny, sick, twisted world. But what's wonderful, I think, is in one scene you'll have, I think you'll be sort of laughing and then scared and then also sort of feeling very sorry for people in it as well. So it's quite a big mishmash of themes. I think because of that, the tone that it takes is so different that it's quite. Michael Schamberg said that the reason he wanted to make this movie was because when he saw the original, the audience didn't know what he was in the cinema, and he said half the audience laughed and the other half didn't. The other half were quite sort of horrified by this film, and he said that interested him. This sort of pull, and you can feel that when you're in a big room with people. If you're just watching it on a cinema on your own, like a sofa on your own, you probably wouldn't, you just sort of take what you, but if you're sat there watching it going, oh my God, this is horrific, and then someone next to you's laughing, I think it's quite an interesting experience.